Hi everyone! In this excerpt, Messiaen uses both Enneatonic and octatonic scales, the second and third of his modes of limited transposition. As with other composers who use so-called synthetic scales, Messiaen here often includes additional notes. The excerpt's initial 8 bars, for example, essentially use the third Enneatonic scale, but also include 3 additional notes, F, A, and C sharp. These notes form an augmented triad present in each of the 3 other Enneatonic scales. Texturally, this excerpt and the entire work essentially consists of chords played in the right and left hands over a predominantly single note bass, which through the initial 8 bars is doubled in an upper part. Perhaps surprisingly, the basis of many of Messiaen's chords here consist of a tonal triad or 7th chord, sometimes with an added note. The 4 different notes in the first and second chords of the initial bar, for example, may enharmonically be heard respectively as a G minor triad with added A flat and an E major triad with added B flat. They both also contain minor and major second and major third intervals, and both produce set classes with prime form 0137. I introduced set class and prime form in a previous video. For those unfamiliar with the terminology, however, I'll give brief definitions. A set class is a collection of pitch sets which are related either by transposition or inversion. Prime form involves arranging a set within its smallest framing interval with the smallest distances between the notes to the left. The first note is labelled 0 with the remaining notes given the relevant number counting up using semitones from the previous note. On a note clock face, the prime form of the work's first chord is formed in a clockwise direction, while the second chord's prime form is formed in an anti-clockwise direction. Direction, however, is irrelevant as both sets have the same intervallic configuration and therefore the same prime form. It may also be seen that both chords invert around an A-E flat axis. Sometimes, however, the same prime form may be derived moving in either direction of the clock face. The smallest framing interval of the third chord of the initial bar, for example, with prime form 05, is the same moving in either clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. The initial 2 chords of the second bar are identical to the first bar, and the third chord's prime form is the same as that of the first bar's third chord, but occurs between A, the first of the notes not found in the third Enneatonic scale, and D. The first 2 chords and the final chord of the third bar share the same prime forms as the previous bars, with the 4th chord using F, another note not found in the third Enneatonic scale, and C. Between the 2nd and 4th chords, Messiaen includes a second inversion C major triad with prime form 037, which shares 3 of the 4 numbers of the prime forms of the previous chords, emphasizing the triadic connection between them. The initial 4 bars then conclude with another 05 set, this time between the notes F sharp and C sharp. These 4 bars are then repeated in bars 5 to 8. In bars 9 to 11, Messiaen changes from using Enneatonic scales to using octatonic scales, again with additional notes. In bar 9, for example, he uses the octatonic scale beginning on D with added G and D flat. In bar 10, he uses the octatonic scale beginning on C with added A flat, and in bar 11, he uses only 2 notes, both from the octatonic scale beginning on C sharp. Except for the final dyad in bar 11, all vertical note combinations in bars 9 and 10 may be heard as versions of dominant 9th chords, some of which include alterations. The majority of these chords have either prime form 01369 or 02368, with the prime form of the second and fourth chord in bar 9, 02468, part of a whole tone scale, made possible here because of the additional notes G and D flat. Given the triadic basis of the first 8 bars and the dominant 7th chords in bars 9 to 11, there is much intervallic similarity in both sections despite Messiaen's use of different scale types. The dyad in bar 11 also has the same prime form, 0-5, as the chords concluding most bars and phrases of bars 1 to 8. In bars 12 to 17, Messiaen returns to using Enneatonic scales. In bars 12 and 13, he uses the Enneatonic scale beginning on C with added G note. Bar 14, he uses the Enneatonic scale beginning on D. In bars 15 and 16, he again uses the Enneatonic scale beginning on C, now without an added G note. And in bar 17, the notes of the D-sharp, A-sharp dyad belong to the Enneatonic scales beginning on C-sharp and D. Given the alternation in the previous bars between the scale beginning on C and that on D, maybe Messiaen was thinking of the scale on D as the source of this final dyad. Regardless from which Enneatonic scale the chords are formed, Messiaen predominantly uses sets with prime form 02458, with some 03458 sets included, along with the 05 dyads concluding the phrases. Excluding the dyads, the basis of these sets consists of several different 7th chord types with additional notes. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.